Welcome to an emergency episode of Speak of the Devils, the premier podcast for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
Joe Healy, devilsdigest.com.
All right, Joe, the news is finally here. ASU's starting quarterback, at least for the season opener, is now known. It's going to be true freshman Jaden Rashada. Before we dive into kind of the whys, how he won the job, and kind of the where we go from here, what was your kind of first reaction when that news broke, which should be noted, first reported by John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a waiting game just to see because anytime news like this breaks, you want to see a lot of different sources jump on board and confirm it. So it's like, okay, I mean, these sort of entities probably wouldn't report on it if there wasn't truth to it, but it was just a little bit of a temporary pause, waiting for things to come together, and then that all did. So it's kind of surprising, but not entirely surprising. As we've talked about, it just kind of seemed like things were trending in the direction of sticking with Trenton Bourguet as the incumbent starter and to be the starter for this year. Now, obviously, this decision doesn't necessarily wipe that off the plane of possibilities for the remainder of the season. But ASU's playing for the present and the future. Jaden Rashada has got a very, very high ceiling, a tremendous amount of talent in the way that he's played in fall camp and things he did in the spring. This sort of announcement doesn't come without having earned it.
Absolutely. Obviously, he comes in as one of the most heralded quarterbacks in the prior class, one of the most talented quarterback recruits in the country. And that's something that we got to see in practice and spring ball, even though they were bringing him along a little slowly. By the end of spring, into that spring game, it looked like he was starting to feel more comfortable, and you saw that arm talent on display. And in fall camp, especially, I'd say the last 2 weeks or so, he's really kind of jumped off the page. And, of course, the injury to Drew Pine really kind of put things into flux, made that a two-man battle. And in practice, you see some of those plays that why he's that 4 or 5 star blue chip recruit, just making incredible throws. His mobility, his arm strength just kind of really jumps out. And at the same point, he's still making some plays that are very true freshman like. And as we talked about in the kind of season preview and over the last couple episodes, this battle has gotten close after Trent had a very strong spring. And it looks like Kenny Dillingham is going to opt for kind of taking some of the true freshman bumps as Jaden's kind of learning on the job and becoming more comfortable. Kind of you see that trend in the NFL too, where no longer a rookie quarterback's just going to sit and learn for a year or two on the bench behind a veteran. They're going to kind of be thrown into the fire and kind of learn on the job. What kind of excites you most about what Jaden possibly brings to this quarterback position, both now, as you mentioned, kind of the present and in the future?
Like I said, it's a really, really high ceiling, a lot of excitement and energy. It's something that intangibly the fan base is excited about. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been excited about any other starting quarterback, but when you have somebody that comes in with 4 to 5 star recruiting pedigree, that is something that's going to be on the mind, especially of the casual fans, the ones that are not necessarily paying attention to every single practice report or listening to every single podcast that comes out each week, and just might be paying attention to the higher level stories when they hear about a heralded freshman that made his way to ASU, who's obviously a legacy player. Our good friend Harlan Rashada, of course, as his father. There are a lot of things that when you pile that together, that gets a lot of energy going with the fan base. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but a lot gets pinned on the quarterback. I know that you talk about how associating wins specifically to a quarterback may or may not be fair. So there might be people fan wise that are, ready for a new look at ASU. Again, I'm going to emphasize that may or may not be a fair outlook, but it could be something that, right or wrong, provides a little bit extra boost of energy into this season and beyond. But at the end of the day, it's a tremendously talented player who's shown quite a few sparks for this decision to have been made by Kenny Dillingham, that accepts the risks with the rewards. Because I don't care who you are, if you're a true freshman quarterback, just about anybody on the planet, minus these high caliber Trevor Lawrence type of players, you're going to either show some limitations or some bumps in the road. You think back to when Jaden Daniels was the starting quarterback for ASU. In the early going of things, they weren't fully unleashing what he was capable of. Now, obviously, that was a different time, different coaching staff, a different athlete. But like I said, when you start a true freshman at quarterback or a lot of positions, you are basically understanding that there probably will be some growing pains, but if he's in the position to be QB1, that's once again by way of a lot of work, a lot of talent. So any sort of cons, if there are any, are heavily outweighed by the tremendous pros.
Yeah, obviously very physically impressive with that arm strength and that ability to make plays with his feet. And I know, like, when we had him here in studio, Joe, we came away both really impressed. Just kind of the mental maturity that he had on display. Obviously, he's a guy who went through the situation during the recruitment process and kind of learned some things there. But comes in, I think, very impressive both physically and mentally as well. And I think that, one of the things that really kind of set him apart, especially the last 2 or 3 weeks, is just his ability to make plays downfield. And Kenny Dillingham told us after a recent practice that making plays and stretching the defense and explosive plays, the term he used, was really going to be one of the key factors. And Jaden continuously was able to prove that, even though there was some times where, again, those true freshman moments were kind of on display. But you kind of you kind of throw the risk versus the reward, and you look at the high ceiling that Jaden has, and obviously that you come away with a guy that, we knew that Jaden Rashada was ASU's quarterback of the future, and it looks like, at least for week one, he'll be the quarterback of the present as well. And of course, the other factor in this situation, Trenton Bourguet, who had the phenomenal finish, or some phenomenal moments during the finish last year, and kind of coming out of spring, is kind of leading the pack there. What do you think it means for Trenton Bourguet right now, and for his future as a Sun Devil?
Well, I would say this is probably something that I'm sure it is hard to digest for a guy who comes back as the starting quarterback from the end of last year and played very well sometimes through a very difficult season. But it's probably kind of old hat for Trent at this time in the sense of overcoming adversity and having obstacles to clear. That's been something that he's had to do quite a bit. So he's prepared for that. Now, as you've mentioned, this is starting quarterback for the first game. I'm not necessarily reading into that to say that they're going to reevaluate the starting quarterback position every single week. That would be something wild, but you never know what can happen. It's not a ironclad contract to start every game for the entire year. As we talked about in a recent episode, those first few games of the season, those non-conference games against the likes of Oklahoma State and Fresno State, they can be challenging. So depending on how ASU fares, especially in those first few games, as you get into that conference opener against USC in late September, a lot can happen from now until then. So if you're Trenton Bourguet, obviously you're still preparing like your QB1. That's what got him the job in the first place. I mean, you think back to last year, he wasn't the starter at the beginning of the season. By the end of the season, he was. So for Bourguet, I'm sure it's naturally going to be a punch in the gut. That's going to be the case for anybody who happens to essentially lose their position, lose their spot, lose their role in the depth chart. But I don't see that being something that throws him off course too much. He's a very composed, mature, focused team player. So I'm sure he's going to go out, and it might even light a greater fire under him. It might put a chip on his shoulder to go out and compete and just be ready to be that next man up, just like he was last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Trenton has such great intangibles, and he's been in this situation before, as you mentioned. So just because that he's not going to be starting the opener, undoubtedly we'll see some playing time in that game, unless things go completely off the rails against an FCS opponent. So again, something to track. But this, of course, Jaden Rashada becomes the first quarterback since Jaden Daniels in ASU history, true freshman, to start a season opener. So it will be exciting. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. I don't know if you picked up on it, Joe. It seemed like, obviously, Trenton Bourguet was kind of like the people's champ, the people's choice in the quarterback battle in spring and kind of, in the early fall. But then once people got to see kind of Jaden kind of dazzle a little bit at the Camp T scrimmage, it seemed like maybe the allure there of that 4-star blue chip prospect kind of swung the pendulum a little bit, because I've seen a lot of folks on social media so far since the announcement broke that they're really happy, and just kind of ties into even further levels of excitement for this new season.
Yeah, I think anytime that you've got a guy that was a highly regarded recruit who, of course, had recruiting experiences with Florida, with Miami, nationally prominent teams, things like that. You add the factor of him being a Sun Devil legacy. You have that, and a lot of fans, rightfully so, want to see that in action as quickly as humanly possible. A lot of folks, even casual fans, are aware of what Kenny Dillingham has done in his career in terms of mentoring and rejuvenating quarterbacks. So you put that together and think, okay, this high profile true freshman mixed with a coach that has quite an impressive resume for guiding quarterbacks. That's a really intriguing combination. So Like I said, I think there's something that is intangible about this as far as the general fan base is concerned. I'll emphasize once again whether that's fair or not. But it is an exciting thing for sure. It's a good short-term payoff, short-term justification of like, okay, this guy is proving to be the player that he was perceived to be. This is not going to be a 2 to 3 year project where maybe he becomes a starting quarterback as a redshirt sophomore or something like that we would see likely in days of yore. So it has some excitement to it, but on just like a lot of other things that are going on in this program right now, the excitement is may be put on pause or maybe accelerated with what happens in just over a week right now. Because once the action is live, then all the hype, all the excitement, all of the emotions that have been felt in the months leading up to this day and this game kind of go out the window because you got to execute on the field.
All right, so we will be hearing from Kenny Dillingham after tomorrow's practice, and it'll be his first comments since this news broke. And obviously, it's an exciting time for Sun Devil football. The opener is just a few days away next week, and Jaden Rashada will be taking that first snap. And then after that, we will see, and we certainly will be here at Speak of the Devils to recap everything. And of course, folks, going to push you to the season preview roundtable that Joe and I did with Hoder Bino and Caleb Comparo. Of devilsdigest.com as well. A lot of ground covered there, and quarterback position, just kind of the season at large. So exciting time. Football is back, and it wouldn't be Son of a football without a shortage of with no shortage of very interesting topics to discuss. So make sure you stay with us on the social media side. You can follow the show on Twitter at SOTD Podcast, on Instagram at Speak of the Devils. We're on YouTube and Facebook. Give me a follow at BDenny29 on pretty much everything.
And Joe Healy 42 is how you can catch me.
All right, so we will catch you next week when we preview ASU versus Southern Utah with Jaden Rashada making the first career start.